streets of the unknown, where the logic breathes and the data flows. We question what the code has shown, and spark the light when no one goes. Clearly learned voices collide.
Okay, you know that feeling. The air gets crisp, the leaves start turning all those amazing fiery colors, and then suddenly, everywhere you go, there's that smell. Pumpkin spice.
Oh, yeah. It's inescapable.
Right. And then the little ghosts and goblins start showing up on doorsteps, just buzzing with excitement. And maybe you hear those spooky stories around a bonfire. Yeah. It's definitely that time of year.
It really is a holiday that's just so steeped in tradition and, well, mystery, too.
And let's be honest, a whole lot of fun.
Indeed. It's a fascinating time, isn't it? A period when, the veil between worlds feels just a little bit thinner, even if that's mostly in our imaginations these days. Halloween is this really unique blend. You've got the ancient and the modern, the sacred and the secular all mixed together.
That's such a good way to put it. A rich tapestry.
Exactly. And its enduring appeal, I think, really lies in that complex history.
Which is precisely why our partners, Bald and Bonkers Network, LLC, asked us to do this special deep dive. We're digging into the origins of Halloween.
Yep. Our mission today is basically to unravel this incredibly rich, complex story, trace its evolution from, those ancient, maybe mystical rituals.
All the way to the big, vibrant, candy-filled holiday that we celebrate today.
And hopefully we're going to dig up some surprising facts along the way, give you a bit of a shortcut to being really well-informed about it all.
With just enough humor, maybe, to keep you hooked.
We'll try. But the main goal is to help you understand what's really important in the source material we've looked at, give you those aha moments.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we start? The very beginning, I guess. Ancient roots. Samhain and the Celts. The foundation of frights.
That's the absolute key. The core origin of Halloween, you can trace it back over 2,000 years. It goes back to this ancient Celtic festival called Samhain.
That's pronounced Samhain, right? Not Samhain.
Exactly, Samhain. And this wasn't just, some random date on the calendar. It was a really pivotal, deeply significant moment in the Celtic year.
And the Celts we're talking about, this is Ireland, the UK, parts of northern France.
Yeah.
That whole area.
That's right. A big swath of ancient Europe, all sharing these similar cultural threads.
So Samhain, what was its main significance? Harvest festival, New Year.
It was kind of both and more. It marked the definite end of the harvest season, which was crucial for survival, and it marked the beginning of winter.
The darker half of the year, I read they called it. Sounds ominous.
It was. It meant colder weather, shorter days, scarcity, hardship. It was a tough time. And interestingly, for the Celts, this transition around what we call November 1st was actually considered their new year.
Okay, so the year began with the darkness, in a way.
In a way, yes. And their days ended and began at sunset. So the festival itself would kick off on the evening before November 1st.
Setting the stage for Halloween night itself.
Precisely.
Now, this is where it gets a bit spooky, right? The supernatural element, the thinning veil.
Yes, this is central. The Celts deeply believed that at this specific liminal time, this threshold between seasons, light and dark, the boundary between our world, the world of the living, and the other world.
The realm of the dead, or spirits?
Exactly. That boundary became incredibly thin, almost permeable.
And that meant?
Well, it meant that spirits could cross over more easily, specifically beings called the AOC. These were often seen as maybe degraded versions of ancient gods or just powerful supernatural entities.
Okay.
They could enter our world and become particularly active around Samhain.
Were they friendly spirits? Or something to be feared?
That's the fascinating paradox. They were both respected and feared. People would often, invoke God's protection if they had to go near places where these spirits were believed to dwell.
So a real mix of reverence and apprehension.
Absolutely. It shows a really complex spiritual landscape where the divine and the dangerous were kind of intertwined.
But sociologists look at this differently too, right? It wasn't just about appeasing scary spirits. These bonfires, costumes, offerings, they served another purpose.
That's a crucial point. While warding off evil was definitely part of it, these activities had a major sociological function. They were primarily about strengthening community ties.
Bringing people together.
Exactly. Think about it. Pre-industrial society, survival depended on everyone working together for the harvest, preparing for winter. Shared rituals were incredibly important for reinforcing those bonds.
So it gave everyone a common cultural experience, from farmers to druids.
Precisely. It brought the community together, reaffirmed their shared identity, especially facing the uncertainty of winter. It was vital social glue.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's dive into some of those specific early Celtic traditions. The bonfires, for instance. They were huge, right? More than just light.
Oh, way more. These massive bonfires were multi-purpose. They were lit to honor the dead, maybe guide their spirits, but also, crucially, for protection against evil spirits.
How did the fire itself protect them?
The flames, the smoke, even the ashes were believed to have powerful protective and cleansing qualities. Imagine the sight. Huge fires blazing against the dark sky. It must have been incredibly powerful.
And did they, carry the fire away from the main bonfire?
Yes, that was common. People would light torches from the central bonfire and carry them sunwise, clockwise around their homes and fields.
Why sunwise?
It's a form of imitative magic, mimicking the sun's movement to bring its protective, life-giving power, trying to hold back the decay and darkness of winter.
Wow.
These fires were also used for divination, trying to see the future, and just generally warding off evil. Though, interestingly, as Christianity spread, some church elders in Scotland actually banned these bonfires because of their pagan roots.
We'll definitely get back to that Christian influence. But first, costumes and masks. Guising, mumming. This is obviously a direct link to today. But why did they do it back then? Not just for fun, I assume.
No, definitely not just for fun initially. The core idea was rooted in that belief about the thin veil and active spirits. Celts wore costumes or masks, sometimes called false faces, for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One was to confuse any wandering spirits who might mean them harm. If you looked like a spirit yourself, maybe they'd leave you alone.
Blend in, basically.
Yeah, right. Or alternatively, the disguises were sometimes meant to impersonate the Éossi, or the souls of the dead.
Why would they do that?
It was believed this could protect them, or it was a way to receive offerings on behalf of the spirits, sort of acting as their proxy.
Spiritual camouflage, you called it.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So it's an active engagement, not just hiding.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It suggests they saw the veil not just as a barrier, but something you could interact with, even participate in crossing through disguise.
And this led to going house to house.
Yes, that tradition seems to go back to at least the 16th century in places like Ireland, Scotland, the Isle of Man, Wales. People in disguise would go door to door, often reciting verses or songs, and get food in return.
Any specific examples?
Yeah, in Southern Ireland, you had guisers, sometimes including a figure dressed as a Lairban, a white mare, which has pagan echoes reciting verses. If the house gave food, they'd get good fortune from the Muck-Alla. If not, misfortune.
A bit of a threat involved there.
A supernatural quid pro quo, you could say.
And in Scotland, similar.
Similar idea. Young people would go around with masked, painted, or blackened faces, sometimes threatening mischief if they weren't welcomed or given treats.
So early trick-or-treating vibes.
Definitely. And the folklorist F. Marion McNeill suggested their faces might have been marked with ashes from the sacred bonfires.
Tying it back to the fire's protective power. Very cool. Okay, what about offerings? Leaving food out.
This was another key practice, deeply spiritual. People would leave food and drink, or maybe portions of their harvested crops, outside their homes.
Why? To feed the spirits.
Essentially, yes. To appease the wandering spirits and the Éossi, hoping to ensure their own survival and their livestock survival through the tough winter. Appeasement was key.
Was there also a sense of welcoming their own ancestors?
Yes, very much so. A strong belief that the souls of your own dead relatives would revisit their homes seeking hospitality. So people would set places for them at the table, by the fire. It was about honoring and remembering. And you see similar practices in many ancient cultures.
That's quite touching, actually. Now, pranks. That feels very modern Halloween. But you're saying it has older roots, maybe a bit darker.
It seems so. The idea of imitating malignant spirits kind of morphed into playing pranks. This was happening in Ireland and the Scottish Highlands from at least the 18th century. It's the mischievous side of interacting with that spirit world.
And this is where the first jack-o'-lanterns come in.
Exactly. But not pumpkins.
Right. Turnips. Or mangelwurzels. What are those?
Large root vegetables like big beets or turnips. Early pranksters would hollow these out, carve grotesque faces into them, and put a light inside to use them as lanterns.
And what do they represent?
They were said to either represent the spirits themselves or they were used to ward off evil spirits. like carrying a protective, scary face. These turnip lanterns were common in Ireland and Scotland in the 19th century.
Before the pumpkin took over in America.
Precisely. The pumpkin is iconic now, but the carved, glowing face has much older, earthier roots in those turnips and mangels.
Amazing how these threads, bonfires, costumes, offerings, lanterns, all weave together from these ancient beliefs. But things change. Cultures blend. Roman influence came next.
That's right. Around 43 AD, the Roman Empire expanded into Celtic lands. And as empires do, they brought their own traditions, which started to blend with Samhain.
Cultural mixing. What Roman festivals overlapped with Samhain?
Two main ones seem relevant. First, Feralia. This was a Roman festival in late October, specifically to honor the passing of the dead.
Obvious overlap there with Samhain's focus on spirits and ancestors.
Clearly. Then there was a festival for Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees.
And this connects to
Apples. The theory is that Pomona's festival, celebrating fruit, might be where the tradition of apple bobbing comes from, the apple being a symbol of Pomona.
So the Romans might have added a layer of honoring the dead, and maybe apple games. Then came Christianity, which really reshaped things. How did the church handle these deep-rooted pagan traditions? Just ban them?
That was rarely their most effective tactic. Instead, the church was often quite strategic. Rather than trying to abolish popular pagan customs outright, which could cause backlash, they often aimed to replace or, more commonly, absorb them.
Rebrand them, essentially.
Kind of, reinterpret them within a Christian framework. It was a very common method of Christianization across Europe. Integrate, don't obliterate.
And the idea of an eve, like Christmas Eve, Easter Eve, that comes from Christian practice.
Exactly. Major Christian feasts often began with an evening service, a vigil the night before. All Hallows Day, or All Saints' Day, was one of these major feasts.
So the night before became All Hallows Eve.
Precisely, which sets the stage perfectly for Halloween.
But All Saints' Day wasn't always November 1st, was it? I thought it used to be in May.
You're right, it moved. Early on, commemorations for saints and martyrs were often in the spring. In 4th century Edessa, it was May 13th. Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome to Mary and all martyrs on May 13th in 609 AD.
And May 13th was already a Roman festival day.
Yes, it coincided with Lemuria, an ancient Roman festival of the dead. So the church was already overlaying its feasts onto existing pagan dates related to the dead.
Okay, so how did it jump to November 1st, right next to Samhain?
That's the key move for Halloween's history. By the 8th century, churches in Ireland and Northumbria, Celtic areas, were celebrating a feast for All Saints on November 1st.
So possibly Celtic influence pushing it towards their existing Samhain date?
That's a strong theory. Or maybe Germanic influence, as they also honored their dead around the start of winter. It became official in the Frankish Empire in 835 AD. There's also a practical theory maybe the church wanted to move the big gathering of pilgrims away from Rome's unhealthy summer heat.
Could be multiple reasons, but the result was All Saints' Day landing on November 1st.
Right, and this convergence is critical. The church establishes All Saints' Day on November 1st. Then, around 1000 AD, they add All Souls' Day on November 2nd, specifically for remembering all the faithful departed, not just saints.
So you have October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd.
Exactly. The evening before All Saints' Day, October 31st, is All Hallows Eve. Over time, that contracts to Halloween, and those 3 days together are called All Hallowtide, a dedicated time to remember the dead within a Christian context.
So the name itself is Christian. What about costumes? Did Christianity have its own version, separate from the Celtic guising?
It did, fascinatingly. In the Middle Ages, some churches couldn't afford or didn't have actual relics of saints to display during All Hallowtide, so they allowed parishioners to dress up as the saints.
Like a living display of saints.
Exactly, a participatory way to honor them. And some Christians still do this today, but there's another, maybe darker Christian connection to costumes. The dance macabre.
The dance of death. That sounds dramatic.
It was meant to be. It was a huge artistic and allegorical theme in the late Middle Ages, especially in France. You'd see it in church decorations, paintings.
What was the point?
It was a reminder that death comes for everyone. Kings, popes, peasants, everyone. Remember the end of all earthly things. Very powerful imagery.
And people actually acted this out.
Sometimes, yes. Historians think the dance macabre was enacted in pageants, with people dressing up as skeletons or corpses representing different social classes, all dancing with death.
Wow. That sounds like a direct ancestor of the modern Halloween costume party. especially the spooky ones.
It's considered a very strong potential origin, linking medieval piety and art directly to our parties today.
Incredible. And then there's souling. This sounds even more like trick-or-treating.
It really does. Souling is seen as a direct precursor. It was a medieval Christian custom practiced in England right up into the 1930s.
What did it involve?
Groups of people, called soulers, could be poor folk, children. Both Protestants and Catholics later on would go from parish to parish, visiting wealthier homes. They'd beg for soul cakes.
Soul cakes.
Small, often spiced round cakes. In return for the cakes, the soulers promised to pray for the souls of the giver, their friends, their dead relatives, helping them through purgatory, according to Catholic belief at the time.
A direct exchange. Cake for prayers.
Exactly. Rooted in charity and belief about the afterlife.
And you mentioned a similar tradition still exists in the Philippines.
Yes, showing how these core ideas travel. It's called Pangangalua. On All Hallows Eve, children in some rural areas dress in white cloths representing souls and go house to house singing in return for prayers and sweets.
Amazing continuity. Okay, so we have the Celtic roots, Roman touches, huge Christian influence shaping the core. How does this all get to America and become the massive holiday it is now?
Immigration is the key. Halloween wasn't really a major holiday in America until the 19th century, especially after the huge wave of Irish and Scottish immigration caused by things like the Irish potato famine.
They brought Samhain traditions with them.
They absolutely did. Their cherished customs, the guising, the belief in spirits, maybe some divination games were transplanted to the New World. It was a way to hold on to their culture.
So most American Halloween traditions basically come directly from the Irish and Scots.
Largely, yes. Of course, things adapted in the American environment. For example, in some Cajun areas, they developed a tradition of having a nocturnal mass in cemeteries on Halloween, placing blessed candles on graves, sometimes staying all night. A unique blend.
But eventually it spread beyond just those immigrant community.
Gradually, yes. By the early 20th century, Halloween started to become assimilated into mainstream American culture. It became a coast-to-coast celebration enjoyed by people from all sorts of backgrounds. It just had this broad appeal.
And then America exported it back out to the world.
Pretty much. Through American cultural influence, movies, TV, commerce, these Americanized Halloween customs spread globally in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. To Europe, the Far East. It became this international phenomenon.
It really did. Okay, let's look at how some specific modern practices evolved. Early American celebrations. They weren't quite trick-or-treating yet, more like parties.
Right. In the New World, influenced by various cultures settling there, All Hallows Eve often became a time for play parties. These were usually private, community-based events.
What happened at these parties?
Celebrating the harvest was a big part. There'd be costumes, fortune-telling games. Remember those divination rituals? And telling scary stories. They were basically the first American Halloween parties, especially important in rural areas for bringing people together.
And the jack-o'-lantern. The big switch from turnips to pumpkins happened in America.
Yes, a classic example of adapting to the local environment. Irish immigrants brought the turnip carving tradition. But in America, pumpkins were everywhere, much bigger, and frankly, a lot easier to carve.
Makes sense. Much softer flesh.
Exactly. So the pumpkin quickly became the go-to, creating that iconic image we have today. Old tradition, new medium.
And the name, jack-o'-lantern, comes from that Stingy Jack legend.
That's the famous folktale associated with it, yeah. Stingy Jack, the Irishman who supposedly tricked the devil multiple times.
So the devil promised not to take his soul.
Right. But Jack was too sinful for heaven, and the devil kept his promise, barring him from hell too. So Jack was condemned to wander the earth in darkness forever.
Where does the lantern come in?
The devil supposedly gave him a single burning coal from hell to light his way. Jack put it inside a carved-out turnip, creating the first jack-o'-lantern, a symbol of a lost soul caught between worlds.
From protective charm to symbol of damnation to fun decoration. Quite the evolution for a carved vegetable. Now, the big one, trick-or-treating. How did we get there from souling and guising?
It seems to be a direct descendant, blending those earlier traditions. Souling provided the treat for a prayer song model, and guising provided the costumes and house visiting. The earliest North American mention of guising is 1911 in Canada. We see references to ritual begging on Halloween in the U.S. around 1915-1920.
But the actual phrase trick-or-treat, when did that pop up?
Relatively recently, considering the older roots, the first known print appearance is 1927 in a newspaper in Alberta, Canada.
Well, Canada gets the credit.
Looks like it. But the practice didn't become really widespread across North America until the 1930s. First U.S. mentions in print are around 1934, and it gets national recognition by 1939.
So it caught on pretty fast once the phrase was coined. Maybe as a way to manage the pranking side. Give us a treat, or we play a trick.
That's a very strong theory. It offered a playful way to channel that mischievous energy.
And now we even have trunk or treating, a very modern adaptation.
Absolutely. Kids collecting candy from decorated car trunks in a parking lot, usually at a church or school.
Why did that start? Safety concerns.
That seems to be a major factor. Parents perceive it as safer, controlled environment, no traffic. It's also really practical for rural areas where houses are far apart. It's tradition adapting to modern logistics and concerns.
Okay, let's talk costumes today. It's not just ghosts and witches anymore, is it? It's like a pop culture explosion.
Oh, completely. While the classics vampires, ghosts, skeletons, witches, devils are still popular, the range is huge now. Characters from movies, TV, video games, celebrities, generic archetypes like ninjas or princesses.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
YouGov did a survey in 2024 looking at trends. What did they find about who's dressing up?
They found about 27% of Americans plan to dress up. But the really interesting part was the age split. Younger adults, under 45, were way more likely, 48% of them planned to dress up.
Compared to older Americans.
Only 11% of those over 45. It really shows a generational shift in how the holiday is celebrated, maybe focusing more on the playful, costumed aspect now.
How are people getting these costumes? All store-bought.
It's a mix. 40% are entirely store-bought, easy, convenient, but 15% are completely homemade, so people are still getting crafty. And the rest are a combination, maybe buying some parts, making others.
The kinds of things are people dressing up as? Still mostly stooky.
Diversified quite a bit. Fictional characters are the biggest category, 44%. Makes sense with media influence. Then animals, creatures at 19%, concepts like abstract ideas at 16%.
Dressing as real people?
Yep. Living people like celebrities at 14%, historical figures at 13%, even objects at 11%. It's really broad.
And how do people describe their costumes? Is scary still the main goal?
Scary is still there, about 23%. But the top description now is creative at 39%. That's a big jump from just 20% in 2022.
Interesting. So originality is key.
Seems like it. Simple and funny are also popular, both at 30%, and unique at 28%. Less emphasis on sexy or extravagant these days. Creativity and humor seem to be winning out.
People are also coordinating costumes a lot, right? Family themes, couples costumes.
Yeah, though coordinating with a spouse or partner actually decreased a bit, down to 25% in 2024 from 42% in 2022. But coordinating with kids is popular, also 25%. And people coordinate with friends, other family, even coworkers. It's become a very social thing.
Okay, now the YouGov survey also touched on a trickier area. Costume acceptability. Navigating cultural sensitivity is a big topic now. What did they find?
Yeah, this reflects ongoing societal conversations. Generally, gender-swapping costumes were widely accepted. 69% okay with a woman dressing as a man. 65% for a man as a woman.
What about cultural costumes? Someone dressing up as a figure from a culture that isn't their own.
That was still accepted by majorities. 62% for kids, 56% for adults, but lower than gender swapping, hinting at more caution.
Where did acceptance really drop off?
Acceptance was lower for a non-Native American person dressing as a Native American, 52%. Even lower for a non-transgender person dressing as a transgender person, 39%. Realistic-looking weapons were only okay with 34%.
And blackface.
That had the lowest acceptance. Only 33% found it acceptable for a white person to wear blackface makeup. Clearly the most contentious area.
Were there differences in opinion, say, between men and women, or black and white Americans on that last point?
Yes, significant differences. Men were generally more accepting of things like realistic weapons and cultural costumes than women. On blackface specifically, 70% of black Americans found it unacceptable, compared to 52% of white Americans. Only 24% of black Americans found it acceptable. It really highlights the need for awareness and sensitivity.
Definitely food for thought when choosing a costume. Okay, shifting gears back to older traditions, games and divination. Apple bobbing is the classic, but there are others, and they started out pretty serious, right?
Absolutely. Many games we think of as fun Halloween party activities started as serious divination rituals, trying to predict the future, especially about big life events, death, marriage, children.
Deadly serious, you said.
In the Middle Ages, yes. Performed by only a few people with special knowledge. But over time, as beliefs perhaps softened, they became more like common household party games in Ireland and Britain, more playful but still echoing that fortune-telling origin.
And apples and hazelnuts were used a lot. Any reason?
Strong symbolism there. In Celtic myth, apples were linked to the other world, immortality. Hazelnuts were associated with divine wisdom, plus maybe that Roman Pomona connection reinforcing the fruit theme. They weren't just random props.
Oh, besides apple bobbing or duking, as you said they called it, what other games were common back then?
Well, there were variations on bobbing, like trying to get a coin out of an apple with your teeth. There was trying to eat sticky, syrupy scones hanging from strings without using your hands. Sounds messy.
It definitely sounds messy.
Another risky one involved a spinning rod with an apple on one end and a lit candle on the other. You try to bite the apple without getting burned.
Yikes. Okay, a lot seemed focused on predicting marriage.
Very much so. Peeling an apple in one long strip, tossing it over your shoulder the shape it landed in was supposed to be the initial of your future spouse.
I've heard of that one.
Or roasting 2 hazelnuts by the fire, one for you, one for the person you fancy. If they roasted quietly together, good match. If one jumped away, bad sign.
Like an ancient compatibility test.
Totally. And eating a salty oat cake, then going to bed thirsty and silent, hoping to dream of your future spouse bringing you water.
That's so specific.
And the mirror gazing. Unmarried women staring into a mirror in a dark room on Halloween, hoping to see their future husband's face. It was popular enough to be on greeting cards later on.
What about the preceding game in Ireland? That sounded more serious.
It was. It features in James Joyce's story, Clay. A blindfolded person chooses from saucers with different items predicting their fate.
Like what?
A ring meant marriage, but clay meant death soon. A coin meant wealth. Water meant emigration. Definitely higher stakes than just finding an initial in an apple peel.
And hiding things in food, like coins in a cake.
Yes, that tradition was big in Ireland and Scotland, and it survives today in things like Christmas pudding, hiding a ring or a coin in barmbrack or coal cannon, finding it foretold your future marriage for the ring, wealth for the coin, a fun way to keep that divination spirit alive.
It's fascinating how these ancient rituals evolved into games. But Halloween today is also a huge business and deeply tied into horror culture. Let's talk about that evolving landscape.
The commercial side really took off in the U.S. in the early 1900s. As costumes became just for fun, a massive market opened up for selling them, plus decorations, candy, everything.
Businesses definitely jumped on that. Any clever examples of brand engagement?
Snickers did a great campaign called Hunger Bars. They put words like whiny, grouchy, loopy on the wrappers, tying into their "You're not you when you're hungry" slogan, but with a Halloween twist. Really smart branding for the season.
Very clever. But beyond commerce, a lot of the modern thrill comes from urban legends and horror, right?
Yeah.
Our fascination with the spooky.
Absolutely. Urban legends are like modern folklore, tapping into those ancient fears of the supernatural, the unknown, the macabre. They're perfect for Halloween.
What are some classic Halloween urban legends?
Oh, plenty. Bloody Mary chanted into a mirror. The Candyman summoned by saying his name. The Headless Horseman from Sleepy Hollow.
Timeless creepy tales.
The vanishing hitchhiker who disappears from the car. The Hookman killer leaving his hook on the car door. Black cats being witches in disguise, that one's ancient.
Any others linked to specific places or history?
The ghost of Anne Boleyn haunting the Tower of London. The curse of the mummy after King Tut's tomb was opened. The phantom hitchhiker of Route 44 in Massachusetts. And the classic babysitter and the man upstairs, calls are coming from inside the house. That one fueled nightmares and horror movies.
Speaking of fears, the poisoned candy and razor blades in Apple's legends caused real panic for a while. Was there much truth to that?
That fear was very widespread from the mid-20th century, leading to things like hospitals x-raying candy. But the reality is, confirmed cases of strangers maliciously tampering with candy were incredibly rare, almost non-existent.
Really?
Yes. No documented cases of serious injury from strangers. The few actual poisoning cases tragically involved parents harming their own children. The panic was largely fueled by rumor and media hype, not actual widespread danger.
Good to clarify that. Now, haunted attractions, haunted houses, theme park fright nights, that's a massive industry. Where did it start?
The very first purpose-built ghost house seems to be from England in 1915, like a spooky carnival ride. Halloween-themed haunted houses started appearing in the U.S. in the 1930s, got bigger in the 50s. Then people started doing home haunts in the 60s.
And Disney's Haunted Mansion was a game changer.
Huge. Opened in '69, it made the haunted house a legitimate, high-quality family attraction. Then came the big theme park events, Knott's Scary Farm in '73, Six Flags Fright Fest, Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. They really globalized the commercial haunted experience.
But wasn't there a major tragedy that changed the industry?
Yes, sadly. The Haunted Castle fire at Six Flags in New Jersey in 1984, where 8 teenagers died. It led to much stricter safety codes for haunted attractions nationwide.
Making it harder for smaller haunts.
Yes, favoring the bigger commercial operations that could afford the safety measures. It also coincided with the rise of hell houses, run by some evangelical Christian groups, using the format for religious messages.
And of course, horror films themselves are inseparable from modern Halloween imagery.
Completely. Gothic literature like Frankenstein and Dracula, classic films like the 1931 Frankenstein or Night of the Living Dead, they created the visual language. Skulls, for example, referencing death and mortality, became standard Halloween decor, linking old religious symbols to modern horror.
And then there's the Halloween movie franchise itself. Michael Myers is basically a Halloween icon.
Undeniably, though fan opinions on that series are intense and varied.
Oh, I know. People really debate those films.
The 1978 original is almost sacred ground for most horror fans, a masterpiece of suspense.
But Rob Zombie's versions, they split the fan base, right? Giving Michael a backstory.
Massively. Many hated explaining Michael's evil. They preferred him as just this unknowable force. Others liked Zombie's gritty, brutal take. Huge debates about whether it fit the Halloween vibe.
And Halloween the Third, the one without Michael.
Initially hated by many for that reason. But it's gained a cult following. People appreciate its weirdness, its unique Halloween feeling, even without Myers. Some fans argue it's more in tune with the original's atmosphere than some sequels with Myers.
And the newest trilogy, 2018, Kills Ends, also stirred things up.
Absolutely. The 2018 one was mostly well-received as a return to form, maybe more brutal. But Kills, and especially Ends, were polarizing. Some found Kills too gratuitously violent. Ends tried something different, focusing on a new character, which many fans rejected. It just shows how passionate people are about this franchise and its connection to the holiday.
It really does. Okay, finally, let's touch on contemporary Christian perspectives. It's not a simple yes or no to Halloween in the Christian community, is it?
Not at all. It's very diverse. Some denominations, like certain Anglican groups, focus on the traditional Christian aspects, prayer, fasting, the vigil of All Saints before All Saints' Day.
Seeing it as part of their religious calendar.
Exactly. But others are deeply concerned. They worry modern Halloween celebrates paganism, the occult, or things contrary to their faith. They might see its origins as purely pagan and therefore incompatible.
What do church leaders say about things like kids dressing up as witches or devils?
Views vary. You had Father Gabriel Amorth, a Vatican exorcist, saying it's not a problem if it's just a game. A distinction between play and belief. Many Protestant churches see it as harmless fun for kids, often hosting harvest festivals or Hallelujah nights. As alternatives, kids dress as Bible characters, focusing on positive themes.
So for many, it's not a spiritual threat.
For many, no. They might even see it as offering lessons about mortality or just connecting with cultural heritage. Minister Sam Portero viewed Halloween as using humor and ridicule to confront the power of death, taking away its sting.
Does the Catholic Church officially recognize the Christian connection?
Yes, the historical connection is acknowledged. Halloween celebrations are common in many Catholic schools in the U.S. In Ireland, schools close for the Halloween break. It's a major cultural holiday with religious roots.
But some groups remain strongly opposed.
Oh, yes. Some fundamentalist and evangelical groups see it as irredeemably pagan, a festival of the dead, and forbid participation. Others use things like hell houses as outreach tools during the season. Even Eastern Orthodox Christians who have All Saints' Day at a different time might suggest alternative services on October 31st to counter the secular celebrations. It's like a complex picture.
Wow, what an incredible journey. From ancient Celtic Samhain, that pivotal time marking harvest's end and winter's beginning, the thinning veil.
Through Roman festivals like Feralia and Pomona adding layers, then the huge influence of Christianity shaping All Hallowtide, giving us the name Halloween, traditions like souling, even the dance macabre echoes in costume.
So its voyage to America with Irish and Scottish immigrants, the rise of trick-or-treating, the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern, those community play parties.
Evolving into this massive global commercial event, amplified by urban legends, haunted attractions, and of course, those iconic horror films that shape how we see it today.
It really is a holiday that just captures the imagination, still rooted in community, celebration, history, and, yeah, A good dose of spookiness.
A real testament to our fascination with the unseen and the power of shared culture evolving over millennia.
So here's a final thought for you listening. As you see those jack-o'-lanterns glowing this year, or hear stories about spirits, think about which tradition you feel most connected to. Is it that ancient sense of appeasing spirits, of marking the year's turn?
Or is it the medieval Christian focus on remembering saints and souls? Or maybe it's just the modern celebration of fun, frights, and community. How do all these deep, tangled layers of history shape your experience of this really unique, wonderfully complex night?